Hello you guys, and welcome back to another video. This is going to be part 6 of building Wallzilla, and as you can see I just took the face frame out of the clamps, and in a second here we're actually going to be securing this onto the case. Alrighty, so the first thing I like to do here is just put the face frame on here just to double check to make sure I didn't make any stupid errors like cutting it too short and gluing it up, because I actually have done that before and I've had to remake the entire face frame. So I just like to double check before I actually glue this up. And then the other thing I'm also doing is checking the plywood edges. And you can kind of check them like this just to make sure they're nice and flush. That way the face frame isn't, teetering on one point. So when it comes to nailing this, the edges are going to be the easiest because the plywood is going to be flush with the face frame. Therefore, I only have to nail right about there, and I can just kind of eyeball that. Places like in the center and up here where there's actually a significant overhang, I needed to do some layout to make sure that I actually nail into the plywood and not just blow nails through into the other side. 1.5 inches. So like you can see, I got my line right there, and then the plywood is right in the center there underneath. So now let's go ahead and glue it. Check this out, you guys. It's actually starting to look like something. So the third section here needs a face frame. I don't have enough material for the face frames because I only brought like 4 boards yesterday. I'm gonna have to run back home and grab some of the material to do the face frames. And since I started this project and I've done a lot of milling, the thing I've actually kind of liked is having a cart with my laptop on it where I can get all of my measurements and that kind of thing. It's a great place to also, put down pencils and tape measures and that kind of thing. So with everything done on the bandsaw, we're gonna head over to the jointer. So before we get the domino set up, I'm first going to show you how I do my layout. I'd say that the biggest benefit of the domino is that you don't actually have to do any joinery per se on the pieces themselves. All you have to do is do a 90-degree cut, easiest cut in woodworking. Everything is basically just butt joints together like this. So you can see that we have our frame roughly laid out here. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 1, 2, 3, 4 so we get everything oriented correctly. So the key to doing this here is actually getting the pieces in the position that they're going to be when they're glued up. So you want the edges nice and flush, and you want to make sure it's 90 degrees as well. And depending on the size of the pieces you're actually gluing up, you might want 2 dominoes, 3 dominoes, maybe only 1 domino like on this piece here. So this piece is about 4 inches in width, and I'm gonna have 2 dominoes. So make sure it's looking nice and good like that. And then I'll draw 2 lines, one right there, and then one right about there. And then I'm gonna repeat this on all of the other joints. So with all of our pieces now laid out and marked, we can now actually do the cutting. I have these, which I use the most with like panel glue ups and that kind of thing because they're so thin. And these, I believe, are, what are these? Yeah, so these are 5 by 30 millimeters. And then these are 6 by 50. The bit that I have currently in the domino is for the 5 by 30 size, so I'm going to cut those first. And this line that we drew that goes from this piece to the other cross member, that is actually what we're going to indicate with the domino. This right here is the center line we're going to be registering off of. You want to go from the very edge of it. You don't want to go from further back because it could skew off in either direction and then make your domino in the wrong place. So that's why I like to just freehand it, because that point where both of those meet is perfectly matched. Bringing the domino on top and setting it right on that line. And just like that, we now have our 5 by 30 size. We can now stick our domino in there, and then the other joining piece as well. And there you go. If you're doing this at home, all you have to have is a line down the middle and then register from that point right there. If you were to register that center line on the domino over here, you can see that you would be off a little bit. So doing it right there is the best point. So now I'll cut the dominoes for the larger ones, but before I do that, I have to change the bit because it requires a larger bit to do the larger dominoes. So let me show you how to actually change the bit, and it's actually pretty cool. And the first time that I did this, I was like, that's how you do it? There is no way to access the bit from either side, as you can see. So you're probably thinking, well, how do you do that? And it's pretty slick. So you take the edge of the wrench right here, and you just put it in this little hook thing, just like that, and that pops this little clip, and then the domino slides out, doing this one-handed, and then you have full access to the bit just like a normal router. I wasn't supposed to do that. As you spin this and you push down the button here, it'll click into place and prevent this from moving. Take that bit out and switch it. And there's what the difference looks like between the two bits. And also, this is actually the smaller domino. There's what they call the Domino XL, which is bigger, and you could do larger dominoes with that. I'd say that this is definitely paid for itself. So one of the main key details of this entire project is that it has some traditional elements. The thing I'm actually going to be showing you here is how I transfer this router bit that's just a standard roundover into something a bit more traditional. The standard bearing that comes on this roundover bit right here is a 1/2 inch bearing. I'm gonna actually replace the 1/2 inch bearing with a 3/8 bearing, and what this will do is actually give me a slightly different profile, and right where my pinky is right there, it'll actually cut that off and it'll make that roundover on both sides. Okay, you guys, that is going to be as far as I'm going to get today. I was a little discouraged when I had to go down and get the lumber to do the face frames and bring it back, and that took time out of the day, and it was just one of those things where it's like, oh, I wish I didn't have to do that. But we live, we learn, and that's just kind of the nature of the beast when, well, you move your entire shop. So on that note, I'm not going to keep you guys any longer. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow.